Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Today, we're going to be talking about using orbs, which are essentially healing energy balls. We're also going to be talking about what other things orbs can be when they show up in our intuition and our third eye. So I want to start first by just introducing the idea of an orb, an energy ball. Many of you have likely experimented with holding your hands as if you're holding a little mini ball and starting to be able to feel the energy that you can build between your hands. So you might just start to do that as you're watching this video. This is one very simple and awesome way to create an orb of light. Also, what I like to call an energy healing ball of light. So you can create them by using your hands, just like I'm doing. You can start to feel the energy coalesce and be formed into this ball. And one of the really cool things that you can do with this, as you're practicing healing work on yourself and on others, first in the one-on-one, face-to-face interactions with people, you can actually send or pop an energy ball of light into yourself or into another. The idea is that you can put the symbols in there, you can put intentions, essentially you can just put energy in there, and the idea is that this ball of light will support the healing energies that you have either given yourself or given to another in continuing to run after you've physically separated your aura from the person that you're sending healing energy to. So hopefully that makes sense. The orbs have their own intelligence, their own way of being and behaving. And the neat thing about them is that they don't require any more of your energy. Once you send that out, that orb is essentially cut from you as a cord from your energetic being, and it just has its own intelligence, its own energy, and it can work. You can send it to yourself if you need it, but usually it's you send it and you put it into another person's energy field, and it's by default that these are this is light work, so these are orbs of light for the use of healing. Another way that you can do it when you're sending distance healing, you can either, again, create the orb with your hand until you feel it. You can also use your mind's eye. You can simply sit and create it in your mind's eye as you're starting to send healing energy to someone, someplace that is distant. And again, the orb can contain symbols. It can contain, you can let spirit show you or allow any sort of light work to be included in that. And this orb, again, holds its own intelligence. And as you send this ball of healing light across distance, across time and space, you're sending it. And I like to imagine it almost as just like going out and popping and being received into whatever energetic field that you're working with to send healing energy. So you can start to work with it just by feeling the energy. You can send this healing energy out with the physical action. You can also use your intuition and your mind's eye. And as I mentioned, you can insert Reiki symbols or other symbols in there. We've already covered in a previous broadcast the first three symbols that are often presented in the Reiki body of knowledge for sending healing energy. So you could insert those symbols just simply with your awareness as you send it. You can also just fill it with light and allow spirit or your guides to include any sort of codes of light, any information, anything and everything that might be needed as is optimal for the person or the place that you're sending the energy to. So it's super malleable as I've come to understand it as far as the timing goes right now on this planet. All right, so that's just a little brief intro in sending healing balls or orbs of light when you're doing light work. There's also orbs exist in the fourth and fifth dimension, and one of the ways that they often come through to us when you start to see them, you can see them in your third eye. They also sometimes show up on film. When you look at different pictures, you can see, science explains this as particles of dust. Some of that could be true, but also there's some really beautiful photos of being in sacred places like Egypt, and all of a sudden there's these crazy, interesting light forms that are in the camera or in the photo. So one of the ways that you can start to see it in 3D is through taking photos or looking at photos. Another way you can start to see them is just flashes of light or balls of light. And what these are, as far as I understand, there's a couple different possibilities. In my experience, one of the ways that the higher dimensions start to communicate with us is via light. Often balls of light, the elemental realm, for those who work or understand creatures like fairies and gnomes, that they can often come through in these little teeny tiny flashes of light as you start to see them and work with them. There's also orbs that can be kind of larger energetic beings. Not that larger is better, but in our human consciousness right now, when you think of a spirit guide or someone who's disincarnate or disembodied or something, but that is still able to work with us in the 3D realm, orbs, flashes of light, are one of the first ways that they really start to integrate into, as we open up our third eye, as we open to receiving this information, that they start to really pull themselves into 3D is via these orbs and flashes that you can see. So they can be, again, little elemental creatures. And elementals are really, once you start to see them and honor them and work with them, they're oh so helpful. They're always in service for nature and for humanity. So I wouldn't be too worried about what I'm talking about. And also these orbs of light. If you're seeing an orb of light that is white light, that is a creature of light. So again, that is something that you don't have to worry too much about. You might, when you start to interact with beings, say in the astral plane, you might first just decide to ask who they are and whether they're there to help you, and you'll get an answer. And they're often these white balls or flashes or orbs of light are our spirit guides. They can also be family members or beings that are there to help us on the other side. And really, it's one of those things when you start to look at the synchronicities that the universe can present, when you really look at how information can be shown to us, these orbs and these flashes of light, in my experience, are presenting guidance, synchronicity, messages that we're on our path. It's worth noting that if you happen to see any sort of an orb or anything that is not of bright white color, all you have to do is tell it that it's not welcome and tell it to go. Like, it's just that simple. I sometimes work with people who have super open third eyes and they see all sorts of stuff. And the fundamental message that I want to reiterate, that we really entered into this energy healing program with, is sovereignty. So as we respect the sovereignty of every single other person and entity and everything else, we are also sovereign. So what that means is, if you happen to notice anything else that's floating out there in the ether that you feel is not 100% in the light, all you need to do is tell it to leave and that it's not welcome. And that is your sovereign right as a human incarnate on this planet. So just that simple. You can also think about, sometimes it's helpful if you feel like there's an energetic tie, and I'll get to this in a little bit more about energetic hygiene in another post, but you can cut cords, seal them with light. And as you're imagining, it's almost like this little portal closes as you're cutting the cord. And when you seal it with light, you're sealing it with the highest vibration for yourself. And yeah, that's just it in a nutshell. We don't have to spend too much time on what else you might see. I like to focus on the fact that a lot of what's presenting itself to us at this time on this planet is for the purpose of humanity's ascension. So there's tons of beings of light that are really, I get the sense that they've been waiting for eons of time for humanity to start to awaken so that they can begin to present themselves. The other thing that I like to suggest to folks when they start to work in the astral plane and with elementals and other beings of light and disincarnate entities that are of the light, to just allow them and ask them to present themselves to you in a way that is optimal for you and that is exactly as much as you're ready to receive. And they always honor that. And when you kind of just set that guideline, it really helps the information to flow in a way that feels really good and exciting. And that's really what they're wanting to share with us. So I encourage you to check it out, to see first if you can start to feel these orbs that you yourself can create, balls of light for the use and the purpose of energy healing. And as you start to work with these orbs in the healing realm, you can start to feel, as I mentioned, that they have their own intelligence and consciousness. And you also get to start to see that you're a part of creating that. And then beyond that, as you start to, or you continue to open up your third eye and you can start to see these flashes of light, these orbs of light, both in the astral, and you'll start to see them in 3D reality. Like, that's what's also really cool, is you start to see those, you can understand them as entities of consciousness, and they are here to give us guidance, give us support, show us that we're on the right path. One of the images that I'm feeling called to share, if you happen to have been able to see the movie Avatar, it's a little bit dated, but I don't know if you remember the scene where I forget the characters' names, but the blue avatar guy is walking through the trees, and all these they're like little white snowflake dandelion looking things start to coalesce around him to show that he is special and that he is chosen. And that's kind of another way, and that's exactly the way that these entities and these beings of light, and they have their own intelligence, and they're always present. So as you start to step into communicating with them and seeing them, it's all for the good. All right. I think that pretty much sums it up. I'm getting the message from Spirit that there's plenty there. Enjoy being in the light, enjoy working with the light, enjoy inviting more and more light beings into your consciousness, into your reality. And as you do, you're also providing them space to be in this third dimensional world that we spend a lot of time on our planet. Thank you so much for joining. Be blessed.